Hey Saints, hope you're all going well. Welcome to Saints TV Weekly. Another week, another Saints TV Weekly. Unfortunately though, there was no Saints footy this week. There won't be Saints footy for a while, but there was still a lot of Saints news to talk about. So let's get into it. Alright, so it was a big week. There was a fair bit to get through. So let's get started. We'll go through general football stuff and then we'll get into some trade news and all that fun stuff that I know everyone is very interested in at this time of year. So first one we've got is football department changes. So that was something that happened pretty early last week. That was one of the first things to really break from post the Fremantle win. Was that St Kilda Football Club will say goodbye to 4 long-term football department staff members with assistant coaches Aaron Hamill, Adam Scroblack, head of performance Matt Hornsby, and senior physio Andrew Wallace to pursue opportunities outside the club. This isn't a surprise. This is something that I thought was going to happen. I always kind of hinted at it during the year on the podcast or at the channel. We always talked about, we look unfit. We just don't look right. We don't look like we've prepped right. And there's been a lot of talk about just our pre-season and whether we prepared well enough or we did the right things at the right time or we did too much of one thing and not enough of another. And I think that's kind of, proven true with the changes that the coaches have made. We obviously don't know who's coming into the club, but I think the fact that we've made these changes means that we're going to get some new faces in and hopefully maybe a Robert Harvey, maybe a Lenny Hayes, maybe a few boys that, have a love for the club could come in. I know Aaron Hamill had that, but the one thing that all these coaches had in common was that they've been around for a while, and that includes being around during the Alan Richardson years, and they weren't great years as we know. So I think it's it's something that most really good clubs do, is they just change from the top, and they've had their chances. It didn't work out for them. No doubt they'll get experience and they'll move on to some good AFL jobs potentially at other clubs. I know Aaron Hamill's been rumoured to go to Carlton, so he may well find himself there. But I'm more excited for the opportunity it brings for new coaches to come in and hopefully, a really strong support staff around Rats. But obviously we wish these guys all the best. But I just think it's probably the right time now with the year that we had and with the preparation or the lack of preparation that we had, that we look for a new support staff around Rats. So that's the first piece of big news from the week. Second big news for the week, Moorabbin Oval to undergo multi-million-dollar upgrade. So we've pumped a lot of money into Moorabbin over the years, and that's a great sign. We want to grow that. And I've had a lot of Sainters message me over the years basically saying, Jakey, what's stopping us from building 20, 30,000 capacity? Get some extra seating, maybe get more VFL games there, get an AFL or two, get AFL games there during the year, like Cardinia Park. Why not? And I think we might be building towards that. And this news is great news. St Kilda Football Club set to undertake a multi-million-dollar upgrade of Moorabbin Oval at RSEA Park to elevate the quality of the historic ground to levels, commensurate with the best playing surfaces in the country. So what that means is we're basically overhauling the ground's current turf, the drainage, and the irrigation system and footpaths. So everything there is going to be upgraded. It's fantastic. This is stuff that makes you think that Tassie nonsense is just not going to happen. There's too much investment. There's too much time and effort and sweat to going into upgrading Moorabbin and building something pretty special there. And I really do think that 5-10 years down the track, we could be playing AFL games there. It could be something that's a legitimate thing. Right now it's kind of a figment of our imagination, but with the amount of money and effort and time put into building Moorabbin and getting us back there in the first place, and then obviously upgrading it from that point on, and you couple that with the Danny Frawley Centre for Mental Health and everything, we're just doing so much right off the field. I think it's on the field that we find the most frustration, and that's perfectly normal. But we're getting this right, and I think if we're getting things like this right, then hopefully in due time we will be getting things on the field right as well. But that's an awesome piece of news. I'm really happy with that. I can't wait to get back to RSEA Park when it's possible, and we'll be able to see this Danny Frawley Centre and hopefully the surface looking in perfect condition for football. So this is only going to be a good thing. And hopefully the boys and the women hit the track and enjoy this oval and train the house down in this off-season and get ready for a big 2022. Now, we had some accolades this week, which was really good. We've had 3 in particular, I believe. So we've got one Hall of Famer, we've got an AFL player, 22 under 22 squad, and then we've got an All-Australian. So it's been a great week in terms of accolades. The first one we'll talk about is Nathan Burke. There's not much else to say about Nathan Burke. 323 games, one of the all-time greats for our club. Just a guy that everyone loves. He just put his head over the footy, played hard, played tough, and he becomes the 20th player from our club to be inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame. So, let's just give him a clap. Nathan Burke, absolute champion. He joins, the likes of Tony Lockett, Trevor Barker, Darryl Baldock, and of course, Robert Harvey, and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Not to mention Lenny Hayes last year as well. So it's a great feat, well deserved. Obviously, his daughter Alice plays in the AFLW, which is really cool. But it was only a matter of time until Nathan Burke became a Hall of Famer. I just remember, when I was early days of really loving the Saints, and it was 2003, and he played that. I think it was either his 300 or his record breaking, or I think it was his final game actually, his retirement game. Might have been against Richmond. It was Heritage Round, like round 18 or 19, 2003 potentially. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we were wearing the thin striped Guernsey, and it looked sick, and we smashed Richmond by like 80 points. I remember watching that. Watching it, but also missing some of it because I was driving with my mum and I could hear it on the radio, and it was just Nathan Burke, just the team dominating. And that's when I think Nathan Burke, I think of that moment in time, and that moment I can just picture myself as a young Saint and how excited I was for this club and for him and to be involved in the red, white and black. And I think that was one of my first early memories of really feeling that bubbly excitement inside. For barracking for the Saints. I'll never forget that feeling, and that's never changed since that day. So Nathan Burke, absolute champion, Hall of Famer, St Kilda great, well-deserved, mate, and just fantastic news all round for the club as well. Other news in terms of accolades is Max King. He clinched back-to-back AFLPA 22 under 22 honours, second year in a row, well-deserved again. He had a great second half of the year, and that really sets us up for a big 2022 with Max King, and it sets up his career. It sets the expectation now that he is going to be a gun. There was a lot of question marks in his goal kicking and his effort and his fitness in the first half of the year, but that really changed around. He kicked 38 goals, 22 of which came following the bye, and he led the Saints for contested marks 48 and marks inside 50, 54. The nomination comes as a well-deserved recognition after such a great performance in the second half of the year, and he's only going to get better. In terms of Saints voted into the 22 under 22 over the years, 2016 was Tim Membry, 2017 was Jack Billings, 2018-19 the Gresh Prince, 2020 Hunter Clark, the Cough and the King, and 2021 Max King. And in terms of AFLW 22 under 22, in 2020 it was Caitlin Greiser and Georgia Patrikios, and in 2021, of course, it was Georgia Patrikios again, the absolute superstar of the AFLW. So great to see these youngsters coming through. Ben King also got into the full forward position, so it's really pretty exciting to see Ben King and Max King both in the 22 under 22 full forward line. And hopefully soon, in the next year or two, we could see them both line up in the red, white and black as well. I'll tell you, this coffee gets better every week. Every week. The man of Steele. This bloke, Jack Steele. Absolute superstar. Now 2-time All-Australian. Well deserved again. He's done everything for us this year. Led disposals, led tackles, led contested possessions, led clearances. The guy is an absolute freak. And I just want to say, to the selectors of the All-Australian team, do you watch St Kilda? Do you watch Jack Steele? Do you watch football in general? Some of the decisions to leave Took Miller and Jack Steele out of the starting team is a joke. I get last year Jack Steele, he was on the bench, and some people told me this year, well, we didn't win enough games, so that's why he didn't make it. And I pointed out, well, we won enough games to make finals last year. We won a final last year, and he didn't make the starting team. And Dan Butler couldn't even get into the team at all, despite him being, the best small forward in 2020 for the majority of the year. So that logic is wrong. And in this year, the guy's leading tackles. He's leading AFL fantasy points. He's going to be top 3 in the Brownlow. He's going to win back-to-back best and fairest. And just go by Twitter. Just search Jack Steele during the All-Australian. Even non-Saints fans were like, what the hell's going on here? How is Jack Steele not picked over someone like McRae? And no offense to McRae. Absolute great player. Gets a lot of the ball. But if you had McRae standing in front of you, and you had Jack Steele standing in front of you, one captain, one leads by example every week, the other one is just a supporting act in a very good midfield, who do you pick? You absolutely pick Jack Steele. So I would have thought that the selectors had some emotion about them and looked at the players and thought, well, Jack Steele made the All-Australian team last year, didn't make the team, but made the bench. Let's give him a starting position in the centre this year. Let's do that. But no, of course he's the bench player again. But some Saints will say, Jakey, he made the team nonetheless. It's not like they're playing football in real life. Bench or not, he's still All-Australian. Absolutely right. It's well deserved. He's going to be a champion of our club. He's well on the way. And there's literally nothing else to say about Jack Steele. He does everything right. His interview was great. I think he's going to be the standalone captain of our club going into next year. I think that Jaron Geary is going to take a back seat and really let Steele run with it. And he's proven this year that he can handle that. He can handle the responsibility of being our captain and the responsibility of knowing that he is expected to deliver performance after performance after performance. And he loves it. And he achieves it. And he's going to win the best and fairest scoring. It's going to be Jack Steele 700 votes. Jack Sinclair 200. There's going to be such a big gap. But it's not because... it's partly because the rest of the team didn't lift. But it's because this guy just dominated every week. Even in our losses, he is going to poll Brownlow votes. And that is why I have a cheeky feeling he could win it. Because even in some of our losses, this guy had 36 disposals, 10 tackles, 2 goals. You can't ignore that when you're an umpire. You cannot ignore those performances. So he's going to pinch votes off midfielders and the opposition that beat us. That's how good he was. And we're very lucky to have him. So congratulations, Steele. This is another accolade, one of many that you're going to acquire over your career. And hopefully that career spans for the entirety at the red, white and black. And everyone can lift and can play footy the way you play footy. Because it's the best kind of footy to watch. He's a hard nut, but he's also got some class about him. And he can hit the scoreboard. So Jackie Steele, congratulations, mate. Well deserved. Very proud of you, mate. Now in terms of some AFLW news, not much again. The only major news is that the season's been pushed back. It's now commencing on the weekend of January 6 to January 9, 2022. There's just a lot of complications with everything that's going on, with COVID, with lockdown, the whole vaccine scenario. So I think it was only correct that the AFL push it out and just give it some more time. And this means that maybe when it does recommence in January, when it does kick off, we'll be able to go to the game. So we'll see what happens with lockdown. I'm hearing it might be extended, but hopefully when January comes around, it'll loosen up and hopefully we'll be able to see some crowds back at RSEA Park to support our girls. Because I have a really cheeky feeling that with Nick Del Santo now as the head coach, they could do something. Last year there was some bad losses, but there was some exciting wins, and we were one of the youngest teams. We're starting to gel. We've got the key pillars going now. Patricios, we've got the G-Tram, we've got a solid defence. Tiny White's great there. There's a lot to like about the AFLW team for St Kilda, so can't wait to hopefully go and watch a game with them. But that's the latest news, that the season will commence on January 6 to January 9. Now, in terms of the news that everyone wants to hear about, it's the list, it's where that's at, trades, rumours, all that shit. And by shit, I mean all of that exciting stuff. The first one, kind of expected. James Frawley, he officially closed the book on his decorated AFL career he announced his retirement after 15 seasons. I think he only played the 2 games for us. So, although it was a decorated career, it wasn't really decorated in the red, white and black. But any chance you get to get a Frawley back at the club, it's always a really exciting one. And, he had the number 24, and that was Spud's first number at the club. And he played the 2 games, which was the number that Spud finished with at St Kilda. So I guess it was kind of fitting in a way that he played the 2 games, and that's Spud's number. But you wonder if that experiment of getting him to support Dougal Howard and to be the defender to take the big gorillas was really the right call, and not drafting a young kid or getting more experience into a Claverino or someone like that. But at the end of the day, he was a Saints player. He played his 2 games. Unfortunately, did his hamstring in the preseason. That put a massive setback on his season and his career. And he only played the 2 games in 2021. So he finishes up 15 years, premiership player for Hawthorn. A very good player and a very good career over 15 years. So congrats on that, Frawley, and all the best for the future, mate. And thanks for donning the red, white and black, even if only for a couple of weeks. Now for some trade news. There's been some interesting discussions. The first one, Luke Dunstan supposedly delisted by the club. The AFL has released that. The club has released nothing. So I'm tipping in the next week or 2. It may well have been released by the time I record this video and upload this video, but Luke Dunstan supposedly has not been offered a contract beyond this year and will subsequently be delisted by the St Kilda Football Club. Now, we don't know what's going on with Seb Ross. That still remains to be seen. But with Luke Dunstan having such a great second half of the year, I wonder how much of that was St Kilda's decision and how much of that was Luke Dunstan's decision to say, you know what, I've got other teams that want me. Don't even bother offering me a contract. Just delist me and I'll move on. And some people are thinking, asking me, Jakey, what the hell is the club thinking? Couldn't we get some compensation? Couldn't we organise something out of this? And I thought that's what we were going to do, to be honest. But maybe there's someone coming in. Maybe we already have some sort of replacement for Luke Dunstan that we don't know about yet. And that's why they're willing to let him go. They're willing to get rid of that salary that he's on. He's probably on like 400 at the moment, maybe more, with the way that we sign players over the years and giving them a bit more money than they probably deserved. But he's probably on let's say 400 to 500. Put a line through him. There's $500,000 potentially available for maybe another free agent. Maybe a Luke Parker from Sydney. Could be. Sydney are out of finals now. Apparently they're struggling to accommodate a lot of the salaries that they're going to have to pay some of these youngsters. And Luke Parker's demanding, he wants at least 4 years, and I believe at around 700 to 800. He's 28. He's turning 29 in October. What do you reckon, Sainers? Do we go for Luke Parker? Is that one that you would be interested in? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment your thoughts. I think it's worth it. And to add to that, to add fuel to that, Dan Hanbury taking a pay cut. Very good friends with Luke Parker. Is that an agreement that has taken place with the club that Dan Hanbury is willing to take a pay cut in order to open up some funds to accommodate his mate Luke Parker for the next 3 to 4 years of Moorabbin? Is that something that could happen? Because I've heard a few little whispers. There's a few little things on Twitter. A few people have messaged me and think that it's a legitimate thing. I don't know. I'm just speculating, obviously, and this is what this section of the video is about. We're just talking about trades and the rumours and what could come of it. Is that something you would do? Because I know a lot of Sainters would be interested, but also a lot of Sainters would say, Jakey, he's 28, he's turning 29, and get another player that's banged up and, his better years are past him. If you watch the game on the weekend, he was close to the best midfielder on the ground in a final. I don't think his best years are past him. I think his best years are right now. And if you had a midfield of Steele, Parker, Crouch, Jones, Gresham, Clark, Marshall, Paddy Ryder, it's not a bad midfield. So I'll just leave it there as a bit of food for thought for you, Sainers. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, the other news of the week, hearing that Josh Battle is, at least his manager, has been kind of rumoured to be testing the waters with several clubs to gauge interest on the 22-year-old. Battle has got 1 year I believe, left on his contract. He signed until the end of 2022. So he's a contracted player, and he would have to agree. He'd have to say that he wanted to be traded, and the Saints would obviously have to agree to that. His exit interview apparently gave no indication that he wanted to leave, but there are rumours circulating that his manager is reaching out to clubs, and it wouldn't surprise me if a club like Collingwood, were interested in someone like Josh Battle, a club that needs a forward, and Josh Battle probably would take that. Like, you'd get more money, and he'd be getting a starting position in the forward line. At the moment now, he's not guaranteed a place in the 22, and when he is in the 22, he's not playing where I think he should be playing, and probably where he wants to be playing. And that's in the forward line. And now you've got Cooper Sharman coming in and doing a great job with Max King, Tim Membry, Rowan Marshall resting there. It leaves Josh Battle in limbo. You really want to be getting some consistency with your performances and your positioning, and that's not guaranteed right now. So I can see why maybe his manager is sniffing around and seeing who might be interested. But my gut tells me that Josh Battle will stick around at least for the next year. And if the season next year is like this year, in that, he's on the wing, he's out of form, he's out of the team, he's injured, he's on the wing, he's out of form, he's in the team, out of the team, and he's just not getting any sort of consistency week in, week out, then I would think that maybe he would look to not re-sign after, 2022, and then he could look around as a free agent. But right now, I think he's probably going to bite the bullet and try and force his way into that team. And when you want to be battling to get back into the top 8 and become a good team, top 6 team, maybe a top 4 team, if we're all fit and firing, you need players like Josh Battle who can pop up and kick 3, kick 4, and support the likes of King, Sharman, Membry when they're down and not in the best of form. So I think it's critical for us that we keep players like Josh Battle, and we don't just let him walk and go to another team. And if he does do that at some point, you could just imagine he'd be a very good forward, and we'd be sitting there thinking, shit, we've let him go for pretty much nothing, and he's dominating. Silly us, So hopefully this is just a rumour, and that's all it stays at. In other trade news, Jack Billings apparently has been tabled a 4-year contract, and he's considering his future at the moment. What I've heard is that he is more than likely to sign that contract. I don't know in terms of how much that amount would be, but that would take him to when he's about 30 years old, 2025, I'm hearing. But the only way I could see this happening is if he's willing to take a bit of a pay cut, because there's no way, based on the year that he had, that he's gonna get anything upwards of 600. No chance. And if we do that, we're silly, because we've already got Dan Hanbury supposedly on a bit of money. I know he's going to take a pay cut, but we've already paid him a lot. Brad Hill's going to be on a lot of money. Jack Steele's going to demand a lot of money. Max King's going to be $1 million player in about 3 years, so we need to be saving up for that. There's a lot of good youngsters coming through that will demand a pay rise. Kel Wilkie demands one. You think Tom Highmore over the years will want one. So there's a lot of players there with some upside in terms of their contracts. If we're selling the farm to someone like Jack Billings, I don't think that's a smart move. It's in front of him. It's on him. And I'm hearing that he's likely to sign it. And we'll hear more about that next couple of weeks. So that's it, guys. That's Saints TV Weekly for another week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please like the video, comment your thoughts. And most importantly, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to the channel, just hit the subscribe button. And let's get over 2,100 and 2,002, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be amazing, and thanks to everyone that has already subscribed and helped me reach over 2,000 subscribers. It really does mean a lot. I've got another video that's popped up on the channel over the last couple of days. I rated every St Kilda player's season out of 10. That's out on the channel. It's a good 35-minute video, so if you've got a spare halfer, make a cuppa, watch this, watch that, and I'll be doing a season review video hopefully the next week or two as well. So stay tuned for that. But importantly, subscribe and you get notified of all of the new videos that are coming out over the channel over the next couple of months. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy your week and go you mighty Sainers.